Hi there, and welcome to A Song of Ice and Fire Explained. This is a video series where we explain the massive conspiracies going on in A Song of Ice and Fire. If you haven't seen our previous videos, we suggest watching those first. So, let's continue on with Arya 2, A Game of Thrones. This chapter is 2,699 words long, and is told from the perspective of Arya Stark, who was 9 years old at the start of A Song of Ice and Fire. In this chapter, unhappy with King's Landing, Arya abandons her dinner. Her father comes to her room to talk to her and sees she has Needle out. After a long talk, he decides not to take the sword away. Several days later, Arya meets her new dancing master. When her father enters the small hall after dinner has already begun, Arya can tell that he has been fighting with the council again. Jory Castle asks about the tourney everyone is talking about, and Eddard asks if anyone is talking about the Hand's displeasure with the whole idea. Sansa is tremendously excited by the prospect of a tourney and begs to be allowed to attend. When Septa Mordane mentions his family will be expected to attend, Eddard concedes and agrees to ensure seats are provided for both Sansa and Arya. Knowing that Prince Joffrey will be there, Arya insists she does not want to attend a stupid tourney. When Sansa taunts that Arya would not be wanted anyway, Eddard loses his temper and threatens to change his mind. Quickly regaining his composure, Eddard excuses himself. Once he is gone, his guardsmen start talking excitedly about the tourney. No one talks to Arya, but she likes it that way. Back in Winterfell, she had enjoyed listening to the men talk, but now the sounds irritate her because she blames them, even her father, for doing nothing to save Lady and Micah. After looking disgustedly at her cold food and the people around her, Arya pushes away from the table. When Septa Mordane insists that Arya hasn't eaten, she runs to her chamber and locks herself in. She digs to the bottom of her chest where her sword Needle is hidden. Arya thinks that if she could climb like her brother Bran, she could steal some food and run away, and that if Jon Snow was there, she would not feel so lonely. A soft knock on her door proves to be her father, who says they need to talk and asks politely to come in. From the way he talks, Arya is ashamed to realize he is more sad than angry. When she lets him in, her father immediately notices her sword and asks whose it is. Arya explains that it is hers, and her father asks to see it. Her father notices Mikken's mark on the blade and remarks that if his 9-year-old daughter can be armed from his own forge without his knowledge, how can he be expected to rule the Seven Kingdoms? Eddard asks who gave her the sword, but Arya stays silent, not wanting to betray Jon. Her father accepts this, but tells Arya that a sword is not a toy. When asked what she thinks Septa Mordane would say about her playing with a sword, Arya insists she was not playing. Eddard states that he should break the sword over his knee. Arya responds that Needle wouldn't break. The sword, having a name, amuses her father, who claims that Arya reminds him of his sister, Lyanna, who might have carried a sword if their father had allowed it. Arya is surprised when Eddard says she looks like her aunt, who was always described as beautiful, something never said of Arya. Eddard asks if Arya knows anything about how to use a sword, and she replies with the advice Jon gave her: stick him with the pointy end. She tells how she was trying to learn, and sadly adds that she asked Micah to practice with her. In grief, she starts to sob against her father's chest. He tells her that Micah's death was not her fault. Arya sobs that she hates them all: the Queen, the Hound, Joffrey, and the King. Then she adds that Joffrey lied, and that she also hates Sansa. Eddard says that everyone lies and that he does not believe the Nymeria ran off. Arya exclaims that Jory promised not to tell. Ned informs her that Jory did not, but that he figured it out. Because even a blind man could tell that the wolf would not have left willingly. Arya then explains how she and Jory had to throw rocks to drive the wolf away. She then asks her father if she did the right thing, and Eddard assures her that she did. Ned then tells Arya that winter is coming. He explains to her how wolves stick together, and that in the winter a lone wolf dies. Now, there are enemies threatening the Starks, so they must stick together like a pack of wolves, and it is time for her to start growing up. He hands Arya back her sword, saying she can keep it. He only asks that she not stick her sister. 3 days later, Arya is sent to the small hall by the steward. She is met by Syrio Forel, a former first sword of Braavos. He tells her that he is her dancing master and throws her a wooden sword, which she cannot catch. Unperturbed, Syrio tells Arya that the next day she will be there at midday and catch the blade. She picks the practice sword up as instructed and finds that it is very heavy. When she complains about the weight, Syrio explains that it is heavy to make her strong. Then he fixes her grip, telling her not to squeeze too tight. When Arya says that she might drop it, Syrio tells her that the sword must become a part of her arm, and that she cannot drop a part of her arm. When Syrio calls her a boy for the 3rd time, Arya objects. He insists that it does not matter, a sword has no gender. He then explains that what he will be teaching her is not the hacking and hammering iron dance of Westeros, but the swift and sudden water dance of Braavos. Then he tells her to try to strike him, and she tries unsuccessfully for 4 hours until every muscle is sore. The next day, the real work begins. And this is where Arya 2, A Game of Thrones, ends. Now, if Arya is similar to Lyanna Stark like Ned claims, there is also another theory. That at 14, Elia Sand behaves in a way similar to Lyanna, since they are both described as being half a horse each. Arya is told by Harwin, "You ride like a Northman, my lady. Your aunt was the same." Meanwhile, Elia is described as, "The girl was mad for horses," which might be why she often smelled like one, to the despair of her mother. This might explain how Lyanna was able to defeat 3 squires as the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and it was here where she first came into contact with Rhaegar Targaryen. Now, it is often presumed that Rhaegar pursued Lyanna, but what if it was the other way around? Elia is shown to be promiscuous. "I'll let you spank me though, but first you'll need to tilt with me and knock me off my horse." Arianna catches Elia kissing a man twice her age, so maybe Lyanna seduced Rhaegar, a man much older than herself, and with Ned describing Lyanna as beautiful and willful and dead before her. This would be an interesting subversion of the captured princess trope, with Lyanna being the real agent of her own abduction. And that's about it for Arya 2, A Game of Thrones. In the next video, we'll cover Daenerys 3 and continue from there. Now, here are the differences between the HBO TV show and book. In the show, the breakfast scene at King's Landing is extended, with Arya stabbing the table. Eddard appears at the breakfast and gives Sansa a doll. Septa Mordane doesn't follow Arya into her bedroom. When Ned talks with Arya in the book, he does not defend Sansa's lies. In the show, Jory did not help Arya throw rocks at Nymeria. Meanwhile, Syrio Forel's appearance is different in the show. He has curly black hair instead of being bald. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. If you want to see more of A Song of Ice and Fire Explained, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, when you get the chance, try out Fantasy Flight's A Game of Thrones board game, digital edition.